Saying. Hello, this is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalist of East Tennessee. I am John Clark.
And I'm Johannes, and we want you to know that if you don't believe in God, you are not alone. Right here in East Tennessee, you can find free-thinking atheists and agnostics. This is a show for them and people curious about living a life free of religion and or supernatural beliefs, which I guess fall under the same rubric, I would imagine. Today is October 8th, 2013, and this is a call-in show, and we invite your calls on the number shown below.
The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun meetup, often at a bar or restaurant. Tonight's meetup, like many nights, is going to be at Barley's for happy hour tonight after the show for food, drink, and conversation. Friday, we'll meet at the happy hour for the Beard and Beer Market. To find us at either one of these places, just look for the silver-jacketed copy of The God Delusion standing upright on the table.
The Rationalist of East Tennessee is a monthly activity group of the first and third Sunday mornings. Well, actually, those are usually lectures. It happens every Sunday of the month, with lively roundtable discussion following the lectures. The second Sunday is a book club, and the fourth Sunday is a reflections gathering, which is generally a potluck at a member's home. I should also note that it is as well a fun meetup. I don't know why ASK bills itself as the fun one. I think this is disparaging to RET.
Today we'll be talking about some atheist stereotypes and whatnot, but first in the news.
Yes, in the news.
I can start. Let's see. So recently, yesterday, Justice Scalia has said, you know, boldly, I believe in the devil. And I've got some of the dialogue here. I don't know who, if you've caught it at home, but I'm kind of interested in the consequences of believing in the devil, and there was a lot of dialogue between Catholic beliefs versus, I think the interviewer said, do all Catholics believe in the devil? And I gotta admit, I'm a little lost on that one myself, but...
I would imagine if you believe in God, you have to believe in, I guess, his mirror opposite counterpart.
Well, I mean, and, Scalia mentioned the Jesus' encounter with Satan, but I'm with him on that. I mean, I think in for a penny, in for a pound. You know, especially if you read the thing, and I think he's probably one of the few people who does read it to an extent, the Bible, that is. But is this weird? You know, what's it mean to have somebody who's supposed to be arbitrating justice and to have these types of beliefs? I mean,
well, I mean, I could imagine, I guess he believes in cosmic justice. Then again, let's hope he doesn't apply things like don't covet your neighbor's wife? Because I do that a lot.
Well, you know,
I think I'm
right. But I think he had said that he agreed with, for example, a lot of what the new Pope's doing, trying to reach compromises, which is interesting.
The Jesuit Pope, he says we can go to heaven, a heaven in which we don't believe.
Right, and
Pascal's wager has been rendered null and void by Pope Francis, just so everyone is aware of that. All Roman Catholics should know Pascal's wager is no longer valid. Don't bring it up. Don't talk to me about it. Il Papa has said that it is no longer relevant.
That's true. I hadn't really thought about that.
Isn't that incredible?
It's great. I mean, so now we can just, oh, you haven't been listening to the new Pope.
Yeah.
You know?
And as a formerly Catholic, now atheist, honestly, if a Protestant brings it up, I could just say, I don't acknowledge that. I don't acknowledge your... And
then, of course, you're going to go to hell after that.
Well,
some of them.
Were I Catholic, I would still already be hellbound.
Right. Oh, yes.
And they would be hellbound, lack of good works, because they believe, you know, the by faith alone bit.
Is there an apostasy bit regarding Catholicism? I mean, I guess not. If he's going to just null and void, you know, you're going to be okay. No. All right, well, this could go on.
Yeah.
But one thing that I did want to pick on was that when questioned about this, Scalia noted that he was offended just from the line of questioning. You know, what's so wrong with me believing in the devil is what he's saying, and that he could be offended by the question itself. And that right there is something that I would like to dispel you know, I want to get rid of. I mean, that's one of our goals on this show. I think is nothing's beyond criticism. Not us, not anyone else. No ideas get this privilege. That doesn't mean to say you can't believe it. I mean, he has every right to believe that, and I'll fight to protect it. All that good stuff, but regarding criticizing it, that's fair game.
I'll war profiteer to protect it.
But you had some things?
Oh, some things. We have birthdays.
Birthdays. Let's do
These
birthdays.
are yesterday's birthdays, but these are birthdays. First birthday, sorry to, I'll put in the disclaimer now, I heavily favor one of these people. I'm a big fan of one of them. So, but yes, on this day, well, yesterday in 1964, Dan Savage was born in Chicago, a LGBT rights activist. I think they've added a few letters onto that. Anyway, an LGBT rights activist, sex advice columnist, sex educator, sex positivity promoter, podcast host. A big figure, started the It Gets Better movement.
Oh, right.
Yes. But yes, he has a quote regarding this. My father was a Catholic deacon, my mother was a lay minister, and I thought about becoming a priest. I was in church every Sunday for the first 15 years of my life. Now I spend my Sundays on my bike, on my snowboard, or as he said, these are his words, on my husband. I haven't spent my post-Catholic decades in a sulk, wishing the church would come around on the issue of homosexuality so that I could start attending Mass again. I didn't abandon my faith, I saw through it. The conflict between my faith and my sexuality set that process in motion, but the conclusions I reached at the end of that process, there are no gods, religion is man-made, faith can be a force for good or evil, improved my life. I'm grateful that my sexuality prompted me to think critically about faith. Pushed out? No. I walked out. Again, for those just tuning in, these are the words of Dan Savage, not myself. Not that there's anything wrong with his proclivities.
That might be a good one for the topic here in a minute, with atheist stereotypes.
I can see that.
I mean, saying that it improved my life, so therefore, I think, well, we'll get to it later. But I mean, I think he's relying on,
yeah,
like you said, a long.
Well, as you said, going back to something you mentioned earlier, another reason why I'm a big fan of Dan is his attitude that information regarding what he teaches, topics of human sexuality, should never be off limits or too taboo, because honestly, some practices can be very dangerous to people. And granted, we're not talking about anything too extreme being in basic sex ed. But again, the idea of education and open exchange of information and a reliable source for authoritative factual information is essential to this process. And
censorship is a tool of cowards and dictators. Although, I mean, I can't find it in myself to censor anyone. I censor
myself.
Well, I do censor myself.
I don't use a lot of chemistry terms on the phone. I'm worried about the NSA.
Right. But I guess regarding this this idea of ideas being immune to criticism, and I reserve that right for other people. I mean, and I just always feel funny when someone's censoring it regarding that, because it's like a red flag. And then in the case of Dan Savage, it's like a giant flag of victory when someone immediately notes, hey, all ideas are subject to criticism. That's a flag saying this is a reasonable person. At least it is to me.
No, yes, the absolute belief in free speech is a very, very good indicator of a person's, I guess, compatibility with life in a liberal democratic republic like ours. Liberal in the classical sense, in the sense that we have multiple parties. But, yeah, no, going on. Do you want to cover the next birthday?
I'll let you cover it, but let me jump to, let's revisit, I want to try to say her name right.
Oh, yeah.
Can you?
I do not speak Urdu. I have no idea.
Either. But I think it's Malala Yousafzai.
Yousafzai?
Yousafzai, I think, yeah.
A Pakistani girl.
This was the Pakistani girl that was shot by the Taliban regarding her secular proclamations, which mostly revolved around women's rights, equal rights, not just for women, but and in her address to this second. What do they call it? They send out a hit on them. I can't.
Fatwa?
Fatwa. It's not. I don't know if this is an actual fatwa, but
There's no like authority you have to have. You could self-appoint and declare one. Doesn't mean anyone will listen.
Right. Well, now there was a response from one of the, I'm tempted to use the word imam, but
a religious figure.
Right. And in response to her second threat of being punished for her activism, she takes pain to mention both men, women, education, and fighting for these liberties. And she plans to enter politics, to do whatever she can. I believe she's up for the Nobel Peace Prize. And so she was shot when she was 15. And something that's really interesting, this is just a game I want to play with everyone at home. I got this off of Fox News, and I enjoy so much reading the comments. And I like to, every time I hear the word or see the word Islam or something, just swap it with anything else, like Christianity or
Judaism.
Some ideology, we could say, like a state religion, like Stalin's state religion. I mean, but you immediately see this very different type of criticism of Islam. It's not really a good criticism. It's things like, yeah, religion of peace, that's so great, I mean, come on, they're going to take us back to the Dark Ages. And you think about these types of comments, I could pick Christianity's peaceful parts out and claim, as many do when they hear something terrible coming out of some Christian like Fred Phelps, that's not very Christian of you. But is that true? I mean, depending on if you've read the Bible, you might agree with Fred Phelps. In fact, he knows it well.
It's a common failure of many ideologies to, I guess, abandon nonviolence or non-intervention, or I guess the what is it? The voluntary? Anyway, the non-aggression principle, to abandon these things and embrace an authoritarianism and a kind of violence to force others to your point of view. Case in point, I could think of a largely secular Nobel Prize winner who's pursued numerous wars and caused massive amounts of destruction. And I won't name his name because others will be mad at me, and I might get droned myself.
But
probably not.
One thing that I'd like to, I mean, obviously there are going to be a lot of Christians commenting. So instead of throwing it at Christianity, which is appropriate, here's a comment. Liberals are still parading the streets around Ground Zero with signs that read, "Let them have their mosque." I want you to imagine this commenter is saying,
It's New York. There are strip clubs near Ground Zero. Right. No one complains. I wouldn't complain about it, but still, no one else is complaining about it. Why would you complain about a Muslim community center? It makes no difference. Again, it's New York. It's so dense. There's an Arby's next to Ground Zero.
I mean, well, I mean, here's another red flag. Those of you at home probably know this very well, but all caps comments are like a huge red flag. And grammatical errors.
The Billy Mays key.
This one's pretty good grammar. It's just that didn't realize. Maybe they hit the caps lock on purpose. But
next birthday.
Yeah, let's do another birthday.
Sir Harold Walter Kroto, originally born Krotoshiner, was born in Wiesbeck, Cambridgeshire, England. His parents were both German. They fled Berlin in 1937. His father was Jewish, but his mother was not. So I think that technically doesn't make him a Jew. But then again, Nazis with their rules and grammar. I'm looking at you on the grammar thing. But yeah, a Nobel Prize winning chemist. Who shared it in 1996. I have the following quote from him. "There are serious problems confronting society and a, quote, humanitarian, unquote, God, who would not have allowed the unaccountable atrocities carried out in the, unaccountable atrocities carried out in the name of any philosophy, religious or otherwise, to happen to anyone, let alone to his, her, its chosen people. The desperate need we have for such organizations as Amnesty International has become, for me, one of the pieces of incontrovertible evidence that no divine, mystical, creator, or other than the simple laws of nature, exists. I am a devout atheist. Nothing else makes any sense to me, and I must admit to being bewildered by those who, in the face of what appears to be so obvious, still believe in a mystical creator." Next birthday?
Quite powerful.
Yeah. I like these quotes. We're covering this. We're moving on. I wonder if there's a famous atheist born every day. Not literally every day, but one for every day on the calendar. I'm sure plenty of atheists are born daily. Actually, I think everyone is born atheist. But,
that was criticized by, William Lane Craig and oh man. Well, anyways, on a and this is perfect for atheist stereotypes. William Lane Craig last year last year, put on a like 2-hour video cast that was broadcast through all these churches, and 4 of us from the group here went to I can't remember which Methodist church, one of the Methodist churches nearby, and
Are they a methodical people?
They were very nice.
I've never known from whence the term Methodist comes, but yeah, keep going.
You know, I'm lost on that one too. I tell you this, I tend to like them.
I think it's like an offshoot of some branch of Calvinism or something, I think. Okay.
But we saw the show, and it was oh yeah, Rick Warren, Purpose Driven Life. Many of you at home may have had to put up with that book. My father has it. I intend to borrow it and actually read it, but I've...
It's good that you don't burn books. That would be a red flag for me.
I can't... I hear the call for it. I feel the temptation myself, but that's where I have to exercise the reason.
That's censoring information.
That was the totally...
Especially such a terrible book.
On top of that, well, just so you know at home, this book is a self-help book written from a... It's almost a guide to how to be a Christian apologist, but it's a devotional at the same time. But it reads like a self-help book. I mean, I have taken quite a look at it. I just haven't gotten down to actually go through it. But what I was going to try to make was that the caricature of Atheist with William Lane Craig was that... well, I totally forgot it now.
Wow.
Yeah, I just really went blank.
That's fine.
It
other
was
birthdays,
last year,
yeah.
but...
Other birthdays to celebrate. Tim mentioned the... do we want to call him the Atheist Choral Director? Because...
he's great.
That would be an excellent thing to call, although we're not a church by any means, and we're a people of very diverse beliefs, or lack thereof. But yeah, him and Joy Behar.
Oh, a call. Okay,
yep.
Great.
We have a caller.
I have an excuse.
You should call. You sitting at home. We'll talk, we'll speak, we'll discuss. It'll be fruitful and productive, but in the meantime, we'll take this call. Hello, caller, you're on the air. May I have a name or nickname?
Oh, man.
Or a dial tone, you know, whatever works.
Caller, we lost you. Hit us back. But Tim mentioned, great.
Yes, no, I'm a particular fan of his, the poem Storm.
Yes.
Wait, was it Storm or Rain? It's Storm.
It's Storm, and it is outstanding.
Yeah.
You could, I mean, it's what, 9.5, 10 minutes long? Yeah. And it has just about every reasonable thing to say about woo in it. It's amazing.
Woo being a common term used among atheist and skeptical communities with regard to things like acai berries will make you lose weight, airborne, you know, those tablets invented by a school teacher, because I would trust a school teacher to manufacture pharmaceuticals.
Or to write books about Jesus.
Yeah, any of that.
Like Bill O'Reilly, right? Anyways.
Any of that. Woo is a generalized term for nonsense that is sold for profit. Yeah. Yeah, mostly this stuff is superstitious. Crystal therapy, Reiki light therapy, etc., etc. Oh yeah, the list goes on and on.
That Reiki and rent or whatever, the hot stone massage that burned through Tennessee a couple of years ago.
Well, hot stone massage isn't so much woo. That's just relaxing.
No, some of it is very That's
if there's a mystical aura surrounding it.
Right.
We can handle that. We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the air. May we have a name or nickname?
Well, hey, this is Faithless Forest.
Hi, Faithless Forest.
Okay, well, a little bit ago you mentioned Rick Warren in his book.
Oh yes, A Purpose-Driven Life. Yeah.
And so I couldn't let that go without speaking up on it.
Who can?
And you both, I think, sort of expressed some discomfort with what you labeled as censorship. Am I correct?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I would like to call your mind to something completely different, which of course I'm going to compare it to, and that is to say, you know, perhaps we've heard about these landmines or anti-personnel devices that are meant to look like toys, that are meant to be attractive to children.
Well, it was used by the Soviets in Afghanistan pretty widely.
Yeah.
It was a tactic to deplete the manpower of the Mujahideen, those glorious American-supported freedom fighters that they were back in the 80s. It's a shame that they had to switch sides. Well, not really switch sides, but turn against us.
Is that, we look at that and think of that as a reprehensible thing. And if that was merely a printed book, does it make sense to leave that thing laying around still armed where it can hurt people?
Oh, so you're going to criticize
the idea of information as a form of, as a weapon or warfare, something dangerous to the minds of children, certain information.
So the point is that the nature of that book is that it presents an argument that the only reason we exist is to please God. And it assigns zero value to what the Bible might call works, which is what I would say is the good behavior we owe to other human beings. It is on the scale of justice or morality, it is completely misbalanced in the wrong way.
No, it's hogwash. It's a lot like, I'm trying to think of the name of it. Prosperity theology, I'm thinking, is what it's called. I know there's
similar,
a different name.
Yeah, but prosperity theology has the potential to at least make us in general wealthier.
Oh, but it's a Protestant thing, though. Remember, faith alone is necessary to enter the kingdom of heaven, not faith and good works.
I understand, and that's why I say that it is a book that has zero good ideas.
Well, I think in particular,
what is the appropriate thing to do with a book that has zero good ideas?
Expose a person to it and let them judge it on its own merits. A person perfectly well-informed whose information and education hasn't been censored and has been relatively well-rounded and complete will see through it for the hogwash it is. You had a perfectly capable education and you've seen through it. He's seen through it.
What you're saying, perhaps, is that, using my analogy of the landmine, is that perhaps it should be disarmed and then shown to people so that they know not to pick one up.
Well, not just that, but yeah, I think you could do more with those as well, but
I am of a completely different opinion. I think, fortunately, unlike landmines, bad ideas, the tools to disarm a bad idea, are, or at least should be, generally taught to children at a very early age. It's called critical thinking. And I think that even young children are perfectly capable of disarming a bad idea pretty early on, unless it's just force-fed to them like certain doctrines or beliefs are. But again, to me, I chalk that up as bad parenting. It's not so much the fact that we need to protect the world from a few people's bad parenting, and it's a shame that children are exposed to it, but I guess acceptable casualties of living in a free society.
Let me add a third perspective on this. Daniel Dennett had a TED Talk titled "A Secular Rebuttal to Rick Warren," and he went into detail about how, because this is what Dan loves to talk about, the book was a very, very good selling book. I mean, it's incredible how many copies that book has sold. So the ideas in it, whether good or bad, are reproducing in people's minds and spreading. And so in that sense, Forrest, I would agree that it's definitely brainwashing, especially, you mentioned morality, and like many Christian apologetics and other religious apologetics, it details ways to teach someone to accept things like kill your son because God says so, that sort of idea, and to make, what God says is right, but it keeps the word and the idea of God in this gray area, and I think it teaches horrible moral standards, ethical principles,
behavior,
and yeah, I agree that that's terrible. Daniel.
So the final argument I was going to make, though, is that if you're going to leave that book around, it needs to have stickers plastered all over it saying, "Caution: the ideas in this book can hurt you and your community."
I don't know.
And in other words, it should be disarmed.
I agree. I don't think it should be. I don't know what you mean by labeling, but I
fiction,
think
non-fiction, or otherwise, could be potentially dangerous. Who was the one that was obsessed with Catcher in the Rye? Anyway,
there was a
serial killer.
Having not read Catcher in the Rye, I can't be certain that the message of Catcher in the Rye is that the other living beings here on Earth are of no consequence.
In the wrong hands, almost any ideology or work could be potentially dangerous. Again, it is the danger we face by living in a free and open society with an open exchange of information. We either deal with that danger as adults and teach our children critical thinking skills and handle it as a free society, or we begin to censor, which is extremely unhealthy and bad for our progress and dialogue within, especially within a democracy, where free and open dialogue is necessary for our continued function.
And so I go one step further and I say, well, I think I call on Rick Warren to renounce the book and its ideas, halt its publication, and urge people that may have copies to make sure that they don't hurt others. And at this point, I will get off the air and hope to get some more callers.
All right.
Cheers, caller. Thank you.
Thanks much.
Have a good day.
I do think Daniel Dennett had a response that was a challenge, if I remember, at the end of that. And I agree with Forrest in that you give him a challenge and say, you know, if you can't argue against this, then maybe do what Forrest said, just, you know, say, hey, I'm sorry I made a mistake with the book. However, that jumps me right back to that William Lane Craig debate. And what I was going to say is they made a comment about atheism, where we say, and as Larry likes to say a lot, I think, atheism is the answer to one question, and it's, do you believe or think there is a God? And if you say no, then that's it. You fit the bill. And technically, you mentioned infants. They can't answer that question and in fact have no concept of it. And so therefore, they're de facto atheists by that definition. Both Rick Warren and William Lane Craig were making fun of this. I want you know, no one cares. I don't care that this cup, well, it's not a thinking entity, but my dog or whatever is an atheist or not. I'm just showing the
Your dog thinks you're God.
Right. Actually, yeah. So my cat, no, the cat thinks it's a
The
God.
cat thinks it's God. It's the Egyptians' fault. I blame them.
Yes, and but if you can't respond to the question, yes, you are de facto atheist. But what that does, that doesn't trivialize a rationalist taking the atheist position. It trivializes what atheist means to somebody who's trying to bash it. It's just not believing in a God. It's honestly, this is where Sam Harris.
Yeah, I don't bash people that don't play kickball.
Exactly. It's
Granted, I don't play kickball. Am I categorized by the fact that I don't play kickball regularly? Although now that I think about it, an adult kickball league sounds like a lot of fun.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying, especially coming from a Catholic school, this just seems like a lot of fun. Maybe it's bred into you. But yeah, no, people don't judge others on a lack of anything. It just happens to come to one of these few things where they do, which is faith. A lack of faith seems to indicate something to a lot of people because it's so closely held, it's so personal, it's such a big deal to so many people that it's an affront to them that others don't believe. But I find it almost absurd to judge atheists on that. We're atheists going on television and telling you that you're wrong and stupid, which we're not. We're not trying to deconvert you. We are here to let other atheists know they're not alone. We are not a show for dismantling the institution of religion.
You know,
I could see being angry.
Let me interrupt you, and I'll just say that in case you are just tuning in, this is a Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalist
of East Tennessee.
Freethought Forum is jointly funded by them and individual contributions from people like you and me.
Individual contribution, yeah, never mind. We're not pandering for money. I cannot say that explicitly enough. Please don't pay us money for the TV show. Join the organization and pay the dues.
And
don't pay money for the TV show. Shows are live almost every Tuesday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Community Access Television, CTV Knox. You can also see it streaming online for viewers outside the Knoxville area. Just go to ctvknox.org, and I hope your Flash player, or is it Silverlight? I think it's Flash. I hope your Flash player works. You can watch us live anywhere in the world where we're not censored. This is a call-in show, and we are live today, October 8th, 2013, and viewers can call in to the number at the bottom of the screen anytime they'd like. I know you're sitting there. In fact, I know you are. You see the number, you have a question, you have a comment, you want to yell at me.
In fact,
a lot of people want to yell at me.
You probably have
Get it
really
out of your
good,
system.
You probably have
Just
a really good
call
atheist
the number.
stereotype out.
I'm an atheist stereotype.
You are.
How?
I believe a caller called in and called you a Rudite. Or, no, it was, man, it was one of those. No, it's personal flavor. I like it. I
had no idea I fell into a stereotype.
You know, I'm going to go back and watch all the shows and find it for you. The Atheist Society of Knoxville, or ASK, meets 2 times a week. Meetups are for food, fun, and drink and conversation. The purpose, again, supply a venue for community, camaraderie, and outreach to atheists, agnostics, freethinkers, and other like-minded persons in the East Tennessee area. The Rationalist of East Tennessee has Sunday activities involving lively presentations and discussions of subjects topical and timeless. Lively meaning that you should bring raincoats because they're similar to Gallagher shows. No, they're not. No. They're very well done, though. They're extremely interesting, as is the roundtable discussion that follows. Once a month, the RET gets together for a book club. You need not have read the book, but of course it probably helps. Both the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalist of East Tennessee help provide a social outlet where you'll find that if you don't believe in God, you are not alone. If we could, actually, we have a caller. Go ahead and go there. Hello, caller. You're on the air. May we have a name or nickname?
George.
George. How are you, George?
Just great, thanks.
Do you have a question or comment for us?
Maybe a couple comments. Number one, I don't know if anyone addressed this issue, but I had to step out. I did notice you were asking about Methodism and where that comes from.
Yeah, the name. Yeah, sure. Just the etymology of the name, I would love to know.
Well, I can't help you with that. I can just tell you that the Methodist Church was pretty much founded by Charles and John Wesley. They were Episcopalians, we would say Church of England, until after they died. In fact, they remained Episcopalians, but the church itself diverged from the Church of England, but I'd have to look up why it got that particular term. So that's one thing I wanted to comment on.
Okay, thank you for enlightening me. I actually wanted to know that.
Okay, the next one, I did appreciate what Forrest, your previous caller, was saying, but I think he probably would agree that we don't want censorship. We as atheists too often have to deal with censorship in the fact that we're not often permitted to even apply for political office. So there are many ways I think that we, let's say, are censored. And I think that reading everything is a good idea. I've come to learn that a lot of atheists became atheists because they read a lot, especially read the Bible. And that's certainly my case. As far as stereotypes, and then I'll shut up because I'm going on too long. I think we have to generalize about everyone. That's just kind of the way it is. We have to pigeonhole people. We also have to be careful, though, that we recognize that atheists among themselves are very different people. So we may all say that we don't believe in God, but we can believe in all kinds of other things, and we can clash and disagree. That's probably the nature of things. So I guess my main point is I think reading everything, censoring nothing, is probably the way to go. So I support your idea about critical thinking. That's something that I think our country lacks tremendously, and something that we really need to encourage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Goodbye. We have a mid-program informational for you.
Go ahead and run that.
We'll run that shortly.
If you live in or around the Knoxville area and are questioning your religious beliefs or simply believe in one less God than everyone else, well, you're not alone. The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun and friendly group of people just like you that meets twice a week at a bar or restaurant. We meet every Tuesday night following the show at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria for happy hour. You'll find our group either inside or on the patio. Look for Richard Dawkins' silver-jacketed book, The God Delusion, standing upright on the table. On Fridays, we meet at Agave Azul or the Beard and Beer Market. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't. We all question what we believe at one point in our lives. If this is the time for you, come join us for food, drink, conversation, and fun. Do you find stories of talking snakes laughable? Do you prefer the scientific method over supernatural beliefs? Are you concerned about religious leaders and organizations imposing their values and rules on your body, your family, and the rest of our society? Well, take comfort in the fact that you're not alone. The Rationalists of East Tennessee meets weekly for fellowship and provides a forum for people who support skeptical thinking and rational discussion of these and other issues. To find out more information or to find out about our next meeting, visit us on the web at www.rationalist.org.
All right. Welcome back. We were talking about atheist stereotypes.
Yes.
And got some interesting calls there.
Yes, we did.
And we discussed a little bit about atheism, and one particular stereotype is that atheists just simply... Well, no, I was picking on that William Lane Craig liked to play down atheist as if atheism represents them, which it doesn't. And so...
Well, I think there's a massive difference between, I guess, what's called the new atheism, the Dawkins, Hitchin-led, which both are excellent figures, but the idea that it has some form of uniformity of belief, but I really don't think it's a uniformity of belief so much as, I guess, a commitment to thinking with the scientific method, skepticism.
It's definitely grabbed a bunch
and lack of
us
belief
under a flag.
Yeah, but
it
seems more of a big tent thing. Case in point, I'm going to come out on air today. I'm an atheist Republican. I'm as rare as a unicorn.
That's right.
There's none of us.
That's right. It's very interesting conversations at the dinner table sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So for those of you out there who may be atheist Republicans, you know,
I am not a role model.
I'll throw a weirder one out there. I think I can do it. Former Bishop Shelby Spong is a Christian atheist. I mean, as far as you define the word atheist, doesn't believe in the supernatural, accepts Christianity's teachings. Of course, I think we can all get behind being, mostly, the touchy-feely version of Christ, not Tea Party Jesus. And it's like he just can't let what he's grown up with go. And many of you, I can even sympathize with that, empathize with that. But he takes it. I mean, the last lecture I saw, I mean, the guy's much older than I am, and I don't suspect he's changed his mind much since then. Maybe I don't think he would identify that way. But on the grounds that we've defined the term atheism here today, but he's a total cultural Christian, much more so than Dawkins would be. And Dawkins claims to be a cultural Christian to an extent.
I think it's because he loves Christmas.
I think it may be just the Christmas
It goes
part.
back to the old thing where Mom and Dad said, if you don't believe in God or Santa, then there's no presents.
Also, he grew up, not American, so kind of you gotta get out of your box of thinking there, because I'm definitely in that box growing up in the Bible Belt, and it's quite different. So, but anyhow,
we're actually going to begin discussing atheist stereotypes and portrayal in media. We have a few examples. If you have any that come to mind, just spring to life. Again, this is a call-in show. You should call us. You should yell at me. You should yell at him. You should speak with us, converse, have a question, something. You have a phone. Calls are easy. Speaking of calls being easy, we have a caller.
Sweet.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. May we have a name or nickname, please?
Mark.
Mark?
Yeah.
Hi, Mark. Do you have a question, comment? complaint?
First time I saw your show, I appreciate you having it on. I'm a reluctant atheist. You know, I was raised in the Baptist church. I mean, from when I was a kid and everything. I would love to believe in something, but I know it's not there. So I'm one of those people that are reluctant about it, and just want to hear what you had to say about that. Thank you.
No problem. You want to stay on the line, or are you?
No, I'll hang on. This is what you have to say.
Fair enough.
All
Thanks.
right, buddy. That's a good one.
Yeah. Well,
that's a great one to start with, actually. Yeah. Well, first I'll say that I was with you. I know when you said there's no God. I'm guessing, and this is one thing I would have picked you on as we were talking on the show to make sure, but I'm just going to guess that you meant that you figured that I can't prove it. I don't know. There's no reason to think it. And now you're finding out that you're falling into this de facto atheist position. That's what you are. You grew up around this. You got all these feelings that you want to believe, things that you were taught. And I've seen a lot of people. You are not alone here in Knoxville. I'll tell you that. There's probably about a third of the people at our table tonight will fit right in your shoes, and some of them are forced to be in that way because of
we're
their
very
job.
good at discretion. You will not be forced onto television. If you do decide to join us again, ASK is meeting tonight. Barley's in the Old City.
Yep.
They're gathering now as we speak.
Pull up a chair and give us a fake name.
Yeah,
there's no problem with that. Change your hair. Come on down. It's not uncommon. I think we had 2 people who did that for like a year, maybe.
We had a guy with the glasses and the mustache. He has yet to take them off. He's a very, very private person.
But what else can we say about reluctant atheists?
Well, I mean, it's
There's
very
more than one
difficult,
type,
but when
yeah.
you're immersed in a community that would automatically judge you for lack of just one belief, even if you hold many of the other tenets of the religion to be true, good works, the idea of that, even though they are dirty Protestants. I'm kidding. It's Catholic school. It kicks in from time to time. It's like a neurosis.
It's a good criticism.
But no, quite a few of the tenets of Christianity, even if you hold all the rest, simply not believing alone is enough to be cast out, and it puts your social life, for some people their professional life, in a great deal of danger. And so I can understand about a reluctance to
and we're social
be
creatures.
open with your lack of belief. Yeah, it's devastating.
Social heritage. It's very important to have a social circle for most of us, and the ones who don't, it's dangerous for them anyways, because then they don't act right. So, there's another.
Are you saying that people?
I'm saying that the sociopaths and psychopaths need perhaps some help because they lack the empathy portion.
Some of the earliest.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. Like, you have the children that do violent acts to animals and such. This is a red flag for someone that lacks empathy, which doesn't mean they can't be good. It just means that they may lack that ability. And for those of you, having trouble understanding quite what I'm saying, that you really got to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And most of us take that for granted. There are people out there who don't know the difference.
I think late life Howard Hughes was an underappreciated genius. The mad hermit of the Vegas Strip. Had wisdom for all of us that we just weren't willing to listen to so he could share it. But yeah, speaking of cultural depictions of atheists, we have more than a couple of them, but I mean, can you really peg down as a diverse a group as those that simply lack belief with a stereotype? Again, do we stereotype non-stamp collectors or non-kickball players?
To the degree, actually, the last caller, not Mark, but George, had said, I believe, that we have to fit people in a category at some point. We have to generalize. There's nothing wrong with generalizing as long as you don't, take that to the next degree and discriminate.
I would rather positively stereotype for traits that someone possesses or things of which they believe than negatively stereotype by judging them for things that they lack or don't have.
If you're going to do it, at least make it positive. And yes.
Well, I meant positive for the presence of something, not that it was a good or bad stereotype.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We all categorize people. It's part of how the human mind works. We almost have no other choice. To some subconscious extent, we do believe these things, or at least base decisions off of them, unfortunately.
And it's like what George was saying with reading all the books. I mean, you can't read all the books. I mean, if I read every work of Christian apologetics, I'd never stop reading. I mean, there's a lot of them, but some of the arguments repeat themselves. So, now, did you have specific?
Yeah. So let's look at some fictional atheists, and let's talk about if they fall into a stereotype.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Does Tony Stark fall into a stereotype as an atheist? He's been portrayed as such in comic books. He's an intellectual, an engineer/scientist, as many comic book types are, the omni-scientist who specializes in seemingly every field.
He's condescending. He
haughty, arrogant.
He takes on the arrogant, condescending traits that are often given to Dawkins. So he's good for Dawkins, but he's a playboy too. Hitchens. Not as much a playboy. Maybe back in the day. I'm also coming out on this show.
I can't wait to see.
And I am secretly attracted to Christopher Hitchens. But no. So,
I think we all are at some level.
Yeah.
Just the personality of the man, the force behind Hitchens.
Right. The charisma.
Oh, it's
I think a lot of Christian
bottomless pool
are quite attracted to him. I mean, just listen to the way they play with each other in debates.
It's that magnetic personality of saying that your beliefs poison everything.
William Dembski just laughed
the constant drinking
in that one debate. But yeah.
He's a very funny man. But
so we got
we have Professor Frink. Is he doing something to my head? Is he ruining the picture for you? I blame Frink for this, but no. Again, we have the atheist intellectual, a stereotype. I don't know about you, but I am far from an intellectual. But again, we have the stereotype, the man of science, the man who would spit in the eye of God. This type is
Lawrence Krauss, Dawkins. This is more Krauss. This is more Lawrence Krauss, but he's getting out there too. So I want to go with Bill Nye.
Yeah,
Bill Nye. It's perfect.
Although I don't know if Bill Nye has openly admitted, he's very big in the skeptical movement.
You're right.
And he has not spoken of religion. I think he's in the same camp as
Eugenie Scott.
Yeah, excellent point. Yeah,
I would call them.
I wouldn't lump them into it because they have not said that themselves, but they are skeptics who eschew the supernatural. So I can see that. So I mean, again, we're talking about a stereotype of the intellectual type.
But I mean, anybody, everybody in Texas that call, the creationists that lurk there and everywhere else call Eugenie Scott. They would call her an atheist.
I was going to say, are you stereotyping Texans?
I am.
The fine people of the state of Texas.
And you know what? Texas, you busted me. Texas could very well find itself quite a liberal state in the future, as far as from what I understand. But
liberal in what sense?
Austin, right?
Classically liberal.
Oh yeah.
Classically liberal.
Oh, you wanting? Well, we got some
religion.
This is too much. I can't.
Religion.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. We have Fireflies. Malcolm Reynolds. The idea that no. The idea that that one can become an atheist due to traumatic experience or loss of faith due to some sort of hardship in life. Again, to me, that is, to an extent, a stereotype. The fact that, something made you mad at God.
But there are a group of atheists that are in this category, I think.
But it seems to me to be an unfair, one of the stereotypes. You're mad at God. You're mad at God for this, that, or the other. It seems to be a running theme.
If you're a Christian apologist, if you're I can't remember the callers, maybe Pastor Al, help me out, call in, Al, if I'm wrong. But when you play the mad atheist card, you are disingenuous not just to atheists but to other Christians, because now you're poisoning the well. They think that's what's out there, and that is. I've got to say, as an atheist coming to these things, I thought I would meet more people that were mad at God than I did. So, anyways, that's a great
people like me. I'm not mad at anyone. Except the dirty Reds and the liberals. Anyway, we have...
Dr. Manhattan.
He's in my head. Dr. Manhattan, again, an atheist. Arrogance. We're using a lot of comic book here. But
and a God complex.
Yeah, quite the God complex. Again, scientist, intellectual type. Quite the God complex. Not angry at God, But again, a God complex, the idea that spit in God's eye, they're haughty intellectuals with their arrogance, that they would deny the Creator.
Actually, lurking ideas and notions of like.
We would have shown you a different picture, but then we would have been taken off the air.
That is so true. That is so true. I remember seeing that in the theaters. It was just, I mean, it was a huge portion of the screen.
You said.
I didn't say anything. I didn't. This is the one.
Okay.
Oh, man.
He's watching us from. Yeah, wow. But yeah, again, the curmudgeon, mad at God, accident, life trauma, mad at God, fused with, again, haughty
and
intellectual stereotype. Where are our dumb, fun-loving atheists?
On the attack.
We exist.
Yeah. And actually, some good arguments coming out of.
Oh yeah.
Now this one.
This is.
Contact, right?
Yep. Book as well as movie. Book is far superior, although movie is perfectly watchable.
Work of Carl Sagan.
Yes. Sagan's hand at science fiction, and he did an excellent job with it. But not that Sagan was always right, because Nuclear Winter was just bunk. I'm not saying we won't get our hair mussed, but you know.
This is one of the classic stereotypes that Matthew McConaughey played across her in this movie. And according to a funny snippet on Family Guy, because Jodie Foster is an imposing figure or something like that. So they put Matthew McConaughey in for us to relax to, but also to say to an atheist, well, do you believe in love? And you hear this so often, this terrible, some of it's good. And of course the atheist says, yes. Well, prove it. And Jodie Foster just falls apart. You know, she's like, I can't prove that my, you know, it's like all of a sudden she just can't answer this question.
This is what Hollywood does to books.
Yes.
But yeah, this was not present in the book.
No.
But again, an intellectual type, a scientist. Why are atheists in fiction always scientists? I would like to know that. Are we really portrayed so positively? Although now here we have a not scientist. From all reports, the XP of the creator of the series, Seth MacFarlane.
Speaking of.
Yeah. What stereotype could we apply to Brian Griffin?
A lot of them.
Really? Because he is something of an intellectual. Granted, he's not a scientist.
He's a pseudo. You know what? He is an intellectual to a degree.
Well, we could call him a pseudo-intellectual.
He comes off as a pseudo. When they make fun of his intellectualism, they use it. He's a pseudo-intellectualist, and then occasionally he says some. I don't know. Real snobby liberal.
He's quite the northeastern liberal type with the Prius and the Kucinich bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Dennis Kucinich. I respect a lot of what he has to say. Actually, I fall in line with a lot of what Dennis Kucinich believes. Just not all of it.
He did have that Rush Limbaugh episode where...
You know why, right?
Actually,
MacFarlane and Limbaugh are quite good friends in reality.
I figured something was up there.
Which is there's a lesson to take home here. Seth MacFarlane, liberal, atheist, Hollywood type, personally quite good friends with Rush Limbaugh in their private lives. Enough so that Rush will come on his show and make fun of himself to his detriment. It doesn't really affect our personal lives.
In that show,
we can enjoy one another.
I do not see how Rush Limbaugh came off on top. That episode hit him pretty hard, but yeah, true. They're friends, get along. They're able to. The point was, I think, with the show is we can talk about these things at the end of the day.
We can be adults about this at some level.
At some level. Now, we can throw stones every now and then, but try not to.
Yeah, well, speaking of atheist stereotypes, it's interesting that, again, categorized by a lack of belief, capital A atheism. But it seems to me that some atheist communities, or atheists in general, are more active than others in the sense that they seem a lot more willing to bring up a lack of belief. Case in point, I'm an out and open atheist, and I'll come on television, but I try not, generally, in general interaction with other people outside of the freethinker groups of Knoxville, I actually tend not to bring it up or shove it into anyone's face. If asked, I'll absolutely admit to it. But it seems to be a varying
I think you
spectrum.
and I are probably on the same side of the fence on this one. And let's talk more about the reluctant atheist. This is another side of the reluctant atheist. I'm in D.C. in 2012 for the
Reason Rally.
Rally.
Yeah.
And I meet two people from Alaska who traveled the whole way, and they get there and they're like, we don't really know why we did this. I mean, do we really need... Yeah, Alaska, right? And they work in a lab together, husband and wife. And they asked me, well, why, you know, what's the deal? You know, I'm here, I see all these people, and we're talking about this reason. Is it necessary? And I just told them immediately, look, I'm from the Bible Belt, and this is what I think you may not know, or you may just have lost in perspective. And they gave me some credit there. They were like, yeah, you're probably right, but we just don't see it in our life. No one cares, no one talks about it. And I have a friend that works in Oak Ridge.
Well, it's Alaska. It's a godforsaken place. I'm surprised that there's anyone that believes up there, but...
Right. Yes, yes. A note, you know, when healthcare goes, when it gets started, people stop praying. And so, I don't, like, in both the godforsaken and in areas where people get everything taken care of, these big concerns, religion tends to vanish to a degree, some of it.
Are you saying that the Affordable Care Act is an elaborate scheme by President Obama to dismantle Christianity?
Wow. You know,
you should never have gone there.
I wish
you know
were.
Who your co-host is.
I do.
You should never have touched it.
I so wish it were, but
you
it's
should
not.
never
it's
have
not.
touched it.
It's not. But I would totally be about that. But not as a ruse, as a tool to be shared. Think about it. Come on, man. I mean, who prays at the traffic accident? Well, maybe, you know, one or two people, but the people who have the skills and the equipment, they go in there and help those people is what they do. And they might, I'll grant you this, they might pray at the same time. But if there's a bleeder and there's red arterial blood coming out of that femoral artery.
He's a medic. There's a reason for this.
Sorry.
I swear.
Sorry. Hope you're not eating. You're going to stop it from bleeding.
This is dinner time. Maybe people watch this over like early dinner.
But at the most, you're going to do them both at the same time. But you got to know you're compromising one of your abilities when you do it. So, anyhow. There are the reluctant atheists, though, that are out there. They're in Oak Ridge. I see them all the freaking time. And they're just, it's just not that important to me. They don't want to be part of the conversation. They see it as overbearing. And in a way, they're right. But then there's another perspective where you got a school teacher that can't even tell people what she thinks about stuff because she's worried about getting fired. Or comes to our meetup for 2 years, 3 years, gives us a fake name. That's fine. You know, you have to do it.
Yes. But yes, it's time to start wrapping up the show. Yeah. Get out your pen and paper, because I know you have one sitting right next to you. You even have a little writing tab.
Be prepared.
You're on the air. Huh? These people are in their living room.
That's true.
How dare you judge them?
I actually have.
This has been Freethought Forum, a program brought to you by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalist of East Tennessee, bringing you 3 years of free thought on community access television and going strong.
Please send us feedback. Leave voicemail at 865-272-9060 or email us at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com. You can see this show on Tuesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on this Knoxville station and 2200 Greenwich Mean Time.
Greenwich.
Greenwich. Ah, yes, that's right. You know, I like UTC, but
I like that more as well. But.
At ctvknox.org.
We would like to send out a thanks to Sam, Jonas, Larry, and Forrest for technical support, production, their extreme patience, and to the staff of CTV Knox and to all of our callers today for excellent input and making the show far more interesting than it would have otherwise been. I mean, it's just us on air. How interesting could it be? Remember to please always examine your beliefs. If those beliefs are true, then you have nothing to fear in examining them. And wouldn't you want to know if they were not true? It's a reason to examine. Also, please never censor what you show, well, within reason, for the love of God, nothing explicit, but don't censor